Hey babes, my name's Hannah.
And my name's Chasity.
Welcome back to Bookish Babes. Today we are doing a Bookish Babble on our, our July book club pick?
Yes.
From Blood and Ash. First of all, what did you rate it?
I rated it 3 stars.
I think I also rated it 3 stars. I'd have to go back and look. I have a lot of thoughts.
I think you did rate it 3 stars.
Yeah. What I have to say is it was entertaining. So much so that I did read the next one, but also there are issues, and I see a lot of issues with it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So it was entertaining.
Yeah.
That's about the one thing I could say is it was entertaining. Mm-hmm. It did take me a while to get into it.
It was I would say the second, not even the second half. I would say the last quarter of the book was what was entertaining. When I was initially started reading it, I really didn't think I'd read any more in the series, and then towards the end I wanted to. So
yeah, I could agree with that. Mm-hmm. I had a tough time getting into it.
Yeah.
But towards the end I was more entertained and a little bit more okay, I kind of want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
But I definitely, unlike her, I did not rush off into the second one because
I was interested where it was going, and I could have just stopped. And now looking back, because spoiler alert, I read the first one, immediately went into the second one. I liked the second one a lot more than I liked the first one. DNF'd the third one. So I could have just read the first 2 and been done. I wish I had.
I definitely just needed a break.
Yeah.
After this one, because for first several reasons that we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the book starts out with our main character Poppy learning some upsetting news about a death that has happened among the Ascended, and who are the group of royals and the royal guard. Ascending is a big, it's a huge honor amongst their whole
people, their whole year.
Yeah. It's seen as the highest honor, and the people who have ascended are royals. So she learns about a death, and this is apparently not the first time this has happened, due to the Descenders, who are these evil people who follow the Dark One. Now the Dark One is made out to be this man who basically was dethroned, but there's a lot of people who still follow him and think that he'll come back to rule, but everybody among the Ascended and people who follow the Ascended think that they're all evil and murderers and everything like that. So basically, Ascended, good people; Descenders, bad people who follow the Dark One. Mm-hmm.
It's very clear from the beginning.
Yes.
We've got...
Yeah, they don't really go into why, which I'll get into that later. I think that the world building in these books are very, very messy. They don't really go into why they're evil initially. I guess they get more into it later. She later on that night escapes her room to go to this brothel gambling club sort of situation.
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, where she's shoved into a room. She loves to escape her room. She's the maiden, and she's not really supposed to go anywhere not accompanied with the royal guard. But she likes to escape maiden. Frequently. I know. They call her the maiden the entire book. It's kind of ridiculous. Take a shot every time they say maiden. But yeah, and then so there she is shoved into a room because her
protector,
her father figure, Victor,
her mentor.
There's so much in this book that
guard,
doesn't make sense. I don't know what Victor's supposed to be. I know he's in the royal guard and he protects her, but he's also sort of raised her almost since she was little.
It's pretty much her bodyguard.
Yeah, and
mentor.
He's been her bodyguard for a long time.
It's very confusing.
And he's trained her how to fight, and they're very close.
She wasn't supposed to though. That was something that he wasn't
so he does a lot
to
that he's not supposed to do. He shows up at this brothel situation, and she's shocked. She's what is Victor doing here? And then some random lady shows up and shoves her into a room to hide her. And while she's in this room, what?
It's just
babe, leave.
That did not make sense. You're going there.
And you see a lot of members of the royal guard there.
You're going there, you know what it is.
Yeah.
What do you mean, what is he doing there?
Yeah, you're not supposed to be there either.
You can't be that naive. Come on.
But she is made out to be that naive, which is just, it's so cringy throughout the, yeah.
I just can't.
And then while she's in this room, she basically, this other member of the Royal Guard, Hawk, is in there. It becomes very clear early on that this is supposed to be like her love interest. And also, spoiler alert, I don't know if we mentioned at the beginning of the video, don't watch this video if you intend to read this book. Because there's going to be a lot of spoilers.
Oh, for every book Babble.
It's very obvious from the beginning that Hawk is the dark one.
Oh, it's very, very
like
obvious.
I didn't know if that was supposed to be a surprise. I don't know if that like was supposed to be like a twist. But I sort of like, I was texting her about it. I'm like, we're supposed to know about this, right? But we don't think we were supposed to know about it. But it was very obvious.
But it was very obvious. And I got to tell you, like, even though like I knew what the twist was, like he was one of the most interesting points for me.
Yeah.
He was a character that like made it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, because I wanted to kind of see his backstory and how he ended up there.
Well, and like he was kind of funny and like I think he was better written than any of the other characters.
And he like encouraged her to kind of break out from the position that she's in. And so like like there was a lot that was interesting about him. But another thing that made it really obvious for me is, like, if you notice throughout the book, he never directly villainized the Dark One or the Descendants. Or Descendants, whatever. Dissenters, that's the name.
Dissenters.
I'm just now processing that the Dissenters is, like, not a word.
No, it's not.
But that's what she calls them. Anyway, I think I read somewhere that she doesn't have an editor, and it shows. If she does, she needs a new one because there's a lot about this book that doesn't make sense.
On that note, I absolutely agree because the biggest issue I had with this book, and there were quite a few that I had, and the reasons I took stars off, the biggest issue I had was the repetitiveness. Yeah. It was so constantly repetitive that I was just like, okay, we get it. We've done this. We've done this over and over. So for me, it was like not only the repetitiveness of like what's happening in the world, but like literally being in Poppy's head. It was like the same thoughts over and over and the same actions. And so like for me, one of the biggest points was when it was revealed that like Hawk betrayed her. She literally had the same thought process and the same mental breakdown. Like three times. And then like it was revealed that he was actually the Dark One, and literally we went through the same, like literally word for word. Like,
and then she's shocked,
and it was like,
and I'm like, really?
How did what?
Because it's a common theme throughout the book that she just ignores things that don't make sense. Like there's this whole point where the Ascended collect, I think like the third born child from every family, and then nobody sees those children again. And I'm like, nobody thinks that's weird. Poppy doesn't think that's weird.
Right.
That nobody ever sees those children again.
Nobody questions that.
No, literally never again.
And she's like, oh, well,
they use it for this.
Yeah. They use them, the priestess or whoever it is, whoever.
It's like I don't remember what the storyline was.
But it was like somebody higher up sees them.
It's supposed to be like an honor your third-born child.
They're the only ones who see them, but you know, they're there. And I'm like,
and she literally doesn't question it until it slaps her in the face, until like there's this family who brings their third-born baby and their first two have died, and they're like, can we please keep this child? We have no other children, and like I'll die trying to give birth again, and the like Ascended like won't let them keep the baby. And I'm like, that's what made you question it, not that like all these families have never seen their children again. Like that doesn't make sense.
Like including, wasn't it her brother?
No, because her brother ascended.
Oh, her brother ascended.
Yeah, she has a brother named Ian who ascended before her, who now lives in like the capital city.
Oh, that's right. Hawk said something about, haven't you asked your brother? Why haven't you asked your brother or something? I remember.
They haven't seen each other in a long time because like he lives in like a different area of this world than she does, and she hasn't seen him since he ascended. Yeah. So, also, when we learn more about Poppy's powers, it's still really not explained exactly. Like, she, like, can feel other people's feelings and, like, take it away or, like, influence it somehow. It's explained very weirdly. Like I said, the world building is so sloppy. It feels like an afterthought. That works for some fantasy books, especially, like, I hate to compare it to this, but, like, with ACOTAR. We learn things along the way because Feyre is learning things along the way. She's existed in this world her entire life, And so it's like when things have to be explained along the way, it feels sloppy to the storytelling because she like stops mid-thought and has to explain what's going on.
I agree.
And like so her as a narrator just feels weird to me. I really wish that we would have had Hawk as a narrator the entire time, because I think it would have been interesting if we had, I mean, we obviously knew from the beginning that he was Castile, but if we had just known from the beginning who he was, and it was him and his inner monologue trying to, like feeling conflicted about everything.
I think that would have been a much, much better approach.
I agree. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Unless we had the whole, like, world building depth of it, because there's still so much that I wonder, because
and there's so much that's revealed in the second book about the world building, but I'm like, this would have made so much more sense had I known this initially,
because honestly
like you don't understand.
I'm not engaged. I'm not interested.
It takes so long for you to understand what the conflict is. Like, what are we working towards? It's a long book.
This is a big book.
It's a big book.
And I felt different than Hannah when I finished it.
Yeah.
I was glad it was over.
Yeah.
Because of the repetitiveness.
Yeah.
And I
like I said,
because
until
of the
almost
writing,
the end, I didn't think I'd continue, because I was like, this is like, I was like, I kept having to put it down just because I was like bored. I didn't really, and it's not that I didn't understand it, because it's not like a super complex story. It's more just like it wasn't explained well. So I was confused what the conflict was. Yeah. I was like, why are we all mad at each other?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, because I felt like we were seeing it from Poppy's point of view, and because the writing was lacking there, I did not care for Poppy.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like, why should I care to continue?
It's just like the trope that I've seen a million times, where the girl is somehow super strong and we don't know why, and it's never explained, and it's just like she always somehow pulls through, and she never has to like really truly be, and she always has people on her side for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? It's
it was that, and so many other tropes. It was like so many tropes that we've all seen done in one book.
It's like she tried to like shove all of the really popular fantasy romance book tropes into one to like profit off of it. Also, speaking of like lack of proper editing, the like token person of color character is named Tawny. I feel like I need to point that out. Like, the token brown character is named Tawny. So I just think that's a fun little tidbit.
Like, I just don't even feel like
who let that happen? I want to know who let that happen.
Also, I'm real mad because she was one of the best characters, and I doubt we'll ever see her again.
And spoiler alert, now I DNF'd the third one, but we don't. Like, she's briefly mentioned in the other 2 books that I've read, but she just leaves. She like Poppy just pieces out, and like we never hear of these characters again.
So like that's just,
it's sloppy. It's very sloppy. I feel like we're just shitting on this book, so people are like, where's the 3-star rating coming from? Because it is
It's entertaining.
It's entertaining.
I understand why people liked it so much, because it's entertaining. It is like, you do want to know what happens. I did like I was a fan of Hawk. I did want to see what was happening with Hawk. I liked him as a character. I wanted to see like what he would do when it was finally revealed that he was Castile. I liked Tawny. She was interesting. That's why I'm pissed off she's not going to be in it. Yeah. I liked Victor.
Victor was fine. I just got irritated by these characters who didn't question anything.
That was the thing. Is like, they were good characters, but like there's no follow through. Right. And so
when her member of the Royal Guard like gets killed when they're out taking a walk one night, Hawk like obviously replaces and becomes like her guard, which that like I could have told you that. But so after that happened, I was like, okay, here we go. Shit's gonna start picking up now. And it just didn't. Like, it was just more of the same, like her hanging out with Tawny all day, and then her sneaking out to go train, and her, also by the way, the whole thing about the maiden is she's supposed to remain pure for whatever the fuck reason.
Okay, I have just,
because then once you learn why they wanted her, like, it doesn't make sense that she needed to remain pure. But
none of that made sense. the whole maiden thing didn't make sense.
No.
It was another trope that was thrown in there for absolutely no fucking
Yes.
reason, and I hate that trope.
Yes.
I will die on that hill. I hate that fucking trope. This whole purity bullshit.
Yes.
I fucking hate it.
But there was no follow through on that trope, because then, like, what was the whole situation with the Duke? Like, they keep telling her she has to remain pure, and then, like, the Duke, like, calls her to his room to, like, get her naked and beat her, and it's, like, suggested that he does other stuff to her.
Yeah, so she's not pure anyways.
No.
So
Like, it's just, the whole thing is weird to me. So I'm looking at my notes.
that's never, like, completely explained either.
Yeah.
Another thing that drove me nuts was Poppy constantly going back and forth on how she felt.
Yeah.
Like, the constant back and forth. And it was, to me, it was like, I understand it's a shitty situation.
Yeah.
And I understand you have to process everything. But, like, either you decide that you don't want any part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Hawk has betrayed you. He's Castile. Like, you're not going to have any part of this. Or you decide, okay, you have feelings for him. And, like, maybe you're going to hear him out. You're going to go with this. Like, stop going back and forth.
Also, I feel like a plot hole for me with Ian. Because she seems to do all this for Ian. Like, she questions wanting to ascend, and then she's like, oh, but I have to go see my brother. And then, but, like, up until she mentions him, like, you forget that she has a brother. She will go chapters without even, like, considering her brother, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, it's, like, the whole reason she's doing anything.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason she ended up working with Castile in the end, was because, I don't know if that was in the first book or the second book. Basically, she agrees to marry him so that they can get to the capital, so that he can release his brother and she can get her brother.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I literally forgot you had a brother. Like, I forgot about him. So, like, once again, it's just, like, sloppy and, like, an afterthought. It's like to give her a purpose for doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, like, why, if you're being shown that the Ascended are these horrible people, why do you want to go release your brother then? Like, I know that he's your brother and you love him, but, like, it's literally revealed that they, like, kill people and, like, drink children's blood, and, like, you want to be like, I'm gonna go get my brother who does that. No. It's just
why?
She, like, tries to develop these characters, and then they make decisions that are out of character for them.
That's the thing. Like, if she's gonna go and do that after she's heard all of this, like, why is she still, like, hemming and hawing on Castile?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I totally get, like, being torn on your feelings.
And then she keeps being surprised. Like, every time something is, like, revealed that it was, like, she was lied to by the Ascended, she's like, what? Bitch,
That's
you
what I
knew
can't stand.
that they were liars. And then now, like, you're shocked anytime you find out anything. Like, it was just like, this surprises you at this point?
It's like she's constantly falling down.
I would be
stupid
surprised if they told me anything true at that point. You know what I mean?
Like, she just constantly gets hit with a stupid stick all the time.
Yeah, she's just not very bright. And it's, like, painful, because I hate that trope. I hate it.
She's not very bright, but yet she's got these powers, and everybody's
she's
so
strong.
scared of her.
And she can fight really, like, she's good at, like, hand-to-hand combat, too, which doesn't make any sense. None of that makes any sense with her
'Cause she's the
characterization. Yeah.
I'm just so confused.
Mm-hmm. Also, I put down in my notes here that the sex scenes are gross. They're not, and I'm, like, to the point where, like, I used to read a lot of smutty books when I was, like, younger, like in high school or, like, when I was in college. I'm at the point now where, like, I don't necessarily need a ton of spice in a book. I almost wish she would have just left it out, because, like, they didn't add anything to the character development and, like, their relationship development, and they were just nasty to, like, read about.
Especially when they were, like, fighting.
Especially, like, I don't know if you want to mention this, but, like,
Oh,
honeydew.
Oh.
Like, if I ever have to, I can never eat honeydew again without thinking of how nasty these sex scenes were.
Honeydew was my favorite, so
Now you have beef with this
I hate
author. So what did we like about the book? That's all I have down in my notes that I wanted to talk about.
I think the only other thing I have is that there was nothing really new or mind-blowing in this. Like, we've witnessed all of this before.
But at the end, I was super interested in Castile and his family and Kieran and how that all plays out. So I think that's really why I picked up the second book, is because I wanted to see more about how because everybody was so loyal to him, yet they were turning against him because of her. And I wanted to see how that whole situation was going to play out.
It's a good point.
Yeah. And like I said, I thought the second book was way more entertaining. You learn a lot more about Castile and his, is it like a country or a continent? I don't know. With the area that he's supposed to rule over and that his family is supposed to rule over. You learn a lot more about that, and the like creatures that live there and the creatures that live in the forest surrounding, and there's a lot more fantasy aspects, I feel like, in the second book than in the first. This to me was like very, very, very light on the fantasy. Very light. Very. But then it also wasn't heavy on like the character plot either. So I was just like, at the end I was like, none of this really made sense. I don't understand. Like usually when you finish a book, you're like, it's like, there was a whole point. There just wasn't really like a whole point to this. So like the Ascended wanted her for one reason, then he wants her for a different reason, but now he's not even going to use her for that reason. So I'm like, okay, so what was this all like? This we did all this for what?
I just left very frustrated.
Yeah,
that's all I felt afterwards.
And I thought that the second book would help me, and in a way, it kind of did because I was more entertained by the second book. And then the third book was just absolute. I think I called it dog shit in my review. It was really bad. I just, you can tell that she didn't know where this story or the series was going when she started writing it, and she kind of just wrote it along the way. Which I guess is how all books are written, but like usually you have sort of like an end goal in mind when you're going to write a series. Because like you can tell, like in the second book there are two characters that are, and I can't remember their names, but they're named super similar. It's Malik and Malik. It's the brother and then one of like the old royals.
Is it like Malik and Malik or something like that?
But it's Malik spelled like Zayn Malik and then spelled Malec. So I just feel like that wasn't thought out. You know, if you had known that you were going to name one character, I feel like sometimes when you read fantasy series, you can tell that, once again, I hate that I'm comparing this, but you can look back at the first ACOTAR book and see that she was leading up to things that were going to happen in like the second and the third. That's not the case here. She did not plan out this series at all. She was just making shit up and like pulling things out of her ass. Which once again, I realize it's how books are written. Like the story flows as it goes.
Yeah, you can be a pantser, but sometimes you can't.
You also
sometimes you have to make sure it works.
It has to make sense with what happened in the previous chapters of the previous books, and it just doesn't.
This doesn't work. At least not for us.
No.
I mean, I understand why people loved it. I understand it.
Yes.
It didn't work for me.
So this first one was a 3-star. The second one I think I gave 3.5 stars, and then the third one I didn't even finish. I wish I could give it 0 stars. It was really bad. It was really bad.
So like, those are our thoughts on it. This is the book that we chose for July.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not gonna sit here and say like, I'm sorry, these were the thoughts, because like with us is what we do. Yeah. This is what a Bookish Babble is about.
Like
honestly,
that's fine.
It's really good that we chose a book finally to do a Bookish Babble on that we had some more.
Yes. I feel like
some more negative views on, because
I feel like we've always done Bookish Babbles on books that we've read already, or at least one of us have read already, and then we know we like and we want to talk about.
So it's always been 5 stars.
This one is the one that we
did a third.
Yeah, we picked it and we went into it like without reading it. And like this was bound to happen. I know this is super popular, and so we might be in the minority here, and that's fine too. I realized we just spent the entire video shitting on this book. Like I said, I did give it 3 stars because I was entertained.
I did as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had some issues with it.
But it's not, I think it could do really well with a rewrite and a couple editors.
Yeah. I agree.
The premise was really interesting.
I think it could have been a very strong book.
Yeah.
With the right editing, with the right work on it, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
It was not executed properly.
Correct. So those are our thoughts.
So, comment down below.
I'm very interested to hear what other people think about it. So please
tell
let me
us. Let's have a discussion.
Yeah.
I would like to hear what your thoughts. So comment down below. Hit that like button and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we post next. Bye.